Essentially, yeah. Which, as an experiment, we did me Skyping into the Capity meeting last month just to see how that worked. It sort of worked. It was not ideal because I couldn't see the people who were asking me questions in the audience. They were off to camera right or left or something like that, but I recognised the voice, so I knew who it was. Apple introduced it as implied by the name in 2009. It included versions 5 of Keynote, version 4 of Pages, and version 2 of Numbers. Obviously that wasn't the first version. I could go back to the very first version here, iWork 05. That wasn't actually quite the first version because before that Apple released Keynote as a separate application, version 1, back in 2003, so that it dates back that far. The last version supported Mountain Lion officially, and that was Keynote version 5.3, Pages 4.3, and Numbers 2.3. So that's as far as that version went. And based on my regular use of it, they all still work reasonably well on macOS Sierra. So, rolling ahead a few years, when macOS 10.9 came out in late 2013, Apple introduced a totally new version of the iWork applications. And these were a complete rewrite. And what they did is they released Keynote 6, Pages 5, and Numbers 3. They looked completely different. They had the same basic functionality, but they stripped out a whole bunch of features. And in effect, what they did was they took the iOS version, the iPad version of the app, and ported it back to the Mac. So they had a common code base for the iOS and the Mac versions, but it wasn't the same as iWork 09, threw out a lot of features, and that meant if you were used to using certain features of the old version, you pretty much couldn't use the new version because those features simply weren't there anymore. So people like me and Graham doing the magazine, we've stuck with the iWork 09 version since 2000 and probably 10 or 11 or something like that when we started using it, and we're still using it to do the magazine these days because the later version simply didn't do what we needed for doing things like split articles spanning multiple pages. You couldn't do that with the new version. When they did this update for the new version of Pages and Numbers and Keynote, they made them free as long as you bought a new computer. So anybody who bought a new Mac from late 2013 onwards got a free copy of iWork with it. Prior to that, you had to actually buy iWork. It was a commercial product, unless you either got it from App Store or buying it on a DVD or something like that one. Every year, Apple has released a new version of Pages, Numbers and Keynote in sync with each new operating system release as they come up with a new version again. Okay, so main thing I want to cover tonight was numbers. So I'm just going to give us some background to make sure everybody understands what we're talking about, because I'm going to be liberally using standard buzzwords for spreadsheets, and I want to make sure you know what I'm talking about, okay? So conceptually, a spreadsheet is information organised into tables. Okay, that's probably, hopefully everybody knows that much. Tables have rows which go across the screen and they're numbered, so that they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, etc. And columns going vertically, and they have letters. They usually go A through Z, then AA, AB, AC, and as many columns as you might need. Some other examples I got there are a checklist, and you can see it's actually got tick boxes in it, so you can have a cell which has a checkbox in it. So you can turn this into whatever kind of list you might want. You can format cells with many different options, tick boxes, dates, times, numbers, in different formats, that sort of. Okay, so here is what you normally see if you're starting a blank spreadsheet. So you can see it's got, these are as I mentioned, there's your columns, there's your rows, and you normally have a cell selected, or you can drag across a range of cells to select a block of cells or something like that. Now this is getting in the way, this formatting panel on the right, and it's useful to know that you can turn it off with this format button if you need to see more information on your screen at once. So you see that little thing there saying format. If I just click that, it hides it. Click that again, it brings it back. So look at this one. Here is one I've been building up over time, which has got some interesting data in it. I'll turn that off again. This is data gathered from Apple's financial reports on how many models of each category of devices they've sold every year. And I've graphed this one. So you'll see here a graph of, since 1984, how many Macs Apple has sold. So you see it was building up and building up and building up until about 1995. Then it started to wobble around a bit. This is the era of the Performers and Power Macs with 4-digit numbers that nobody understood. So nobody knew what Macs were. They're all pretty similar and nobody knew what to buy. So they've all nobody could make their mind up. It was then it was starting to sink. And then around 1996, Apple bought Next and Steve Jobs came on board. And then they had a bit of a resurgence around the time the iMac was introduced, around 1998. Didn't last long, it sort of sagged again. Then from about 2003 was the worst point in recent years, at least, of Mac sales. And then in 2004, strange things started happening. Mac sales started improving. Yep. Okay, I think we'll sign out. Okay.